Today we'll be doing 1.3 measurements of segments. We have some definitions first, and then we'll do some examples. Let's start with the definition for distance. In other words, length. Okay, so distance and length are the same thing in geometry. Um, let's fill in the blank how far away something is. How far? How far? How far away something is. We are going to have a symbol for length. If we have a visual, it's going to help us kind of look at the symbol differently. So let's draw it first, and then we'll do the symbol. So with distance, it's from one end to the other end. It's that distance. So let's call it A, and then B here. Let's say that A starts at 0 and that B is going to end at 6. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the distance from A to B would be 6 units in that case. It's that how far away from one point to the other. When we say it with our symbols, what I want is that you tell me from what end to what other end does it start and it stops. So it's going to go from A to B. And we just put those two letters together, nothing else. And that tells us distance from A to B. Ok, hoy vamos a hacer 1.3 las medidas de los segmentos. So vamos a estar hablando de segmentos para el día de hoy. Y tenemos varias definiciones. La primera es la palabra distancia. So es de cuánto tomó para irte de un extremo al otro extremo. Por ejemplo, cuando lo dibujé aquí en mi visual, es de A hacia B. Esa es tu distancia. Para el ejemplo es una distancia de 6. Cuando yo les pido el símbolo de distancia, busco que me nombren de qué letra a cuál otra letra empieza y termina. So de A a B es mi distancia. Y las ponemos al ladito juntito. ¿Ok? Eso me dice distancia. Okay, the next definition is segment addition postulate. Is a point that is between, a point is between if it is collinear. The big thing for this definition is that when we draw it, what it looks like is we're adding parts together to make a whole. Okay, so let's look at a visual. So I'm going to draw my line here. So I'm going to say that there is an A, there's a B, and there's a C. What they want you to kind of look at and see is that you could go from A to B, and then if you go from B to C, if you add them together, it's going to create this whole distance from A to C, okay? So let's say I do A, B plus B, C. It's going to give me this whole segment of A to C. So the big thing that I want you to look at here is that if I add a part to another part of this segment, it equals the whole thing. AB plus BC gives me this whole distance. Okay, if I add each little part, it gives me the whole distance. That's the main thing that I want you to know about segment addition postulate. Ok, para esa siguiente definición, la agregación de un segmento, este específico postulado es muy importante en geometry. Lo que dice es que estamos agregando en una línea, en un segmento, estamos agregando cada partecita junto para crear toda esta línea. So, en el visual pueden ver que voy a agarrar A a B y si agrego B a C me va a dar toda la distancia desde A hasta C. Parte más parte es igual a toda esta parte entera, ¿ok? Part plus part equals a whole. Muy importante. Okay, let's keep going. We've seen the word congruent, but we saw it with angles, okay? And it's going to kind of mean the same thing for segments. Remember that the symbol for congruent is the equal sign with the squiggly. That's the symbol for congruent. It means same size, same shape. Same size, same shape. That's what congruent mean. That's what congruent means. It means equal. Let's draw a visual so we can kind of draw our symbol. Let's say I have a segment from A to B. And I have another segment from from C to D. These two segments have the same size, are the same shape, okay? So I can say that AB is congruent to CD. And because it's a segment, I'm going to have my little symbol at the top. Ok, cuando yo hablo de un segmento, cuando escribo mi símbolo, tengo esa rayita arriba de A a B y de C a D, ok. So, otra importante palabra es congruente, que lo vimos en nuestro tópico anterior, pero era con ángulos, ahora son los segmentos. So, sigue igual, es lo mismo. Congruente quiere decir igual. La misma distancia, el mismo figura. Ok, so yo hice mi visual. Tengo esta línea de A a B y C a D es la otra distancia. Ok, tenemos dos segmentos diferentes, pero es la misma figura, es una línea, es un segmento y tiene el mismo tamaño. Estos dos segmentos son congruentes. So, yo en mi símbolo puse AB es congruente con CAD. Ok, A y B y CAD tienen esa linita arriba que dice segmento. Empieza y termina. Tiene un comienzo y tiene un final para mi línea. Ok, vamos a hablar de las otras definiciones que también son muy importantes. Let's talk about the other definitions, very important definitions. What about midpoint? It's a point that splits segments in two equal parts. All right, there's no symbol for midpoint, but we do have a visual that we can kind of show you what's happening. So let's say I go from this point to this point right here. So I go from point U to point T. When I have a midpoint, it's a point directly in the middle of two other points. Let's go back. So it's right here. Roughly in the middle. It's not going to be perfect, but I'll say that's the midpoint. And we're going to call it M for midpoint. All right, so I am putting M in the middle directly of U and T, which is giving UM is congruent to MT. We have two equal parts, U to M and M to T. So how do I give a symbol that says I have equal parts with a midpoint? I have tick marks, okay? So that little line. If I see one line from U to M and another line from M to T, it's telling me that those parts are equal to each other, equal distance, okay? So I could say UM is congruent to MT. All right. So, la siguiente definición, muy importante, la de punto medio. Eso es un punto que está cortando un segmento en dos partes iguales. Eso es lo que es un punto medio. So, yo en mi visual, yo empecé mi segmento de U a T. ¿Ok? Y en medio de U y T puse mi punto medio. Entonces está directamente en medio. So, ¿qué pasó aquí? Ese segmento se partió a la mitad. So, de U a M tenemos una parte del segmento y tiene la misma medida, es igual a M a T. ¿Ok? Algo otra vez muy importante que voy a mencionar es esas rayitas que puse. So, esta rayita que estoy aquí delineando, esa rayita y la otra rayita que ven aquí, porque tengo la misma cantidad de rayitas, quiere decir que esas partes son iguales. So, la cantidad de marquitas te dice qué cosas son congruentes, son iguales, tienen la misma medida en segmentos. ¿Ok? So, las marquitas te dicen qué cosas tienen partes iguales, tienen la misma medida. ¿Ok? So, yo podría haber puesto, en vez de una marquita, dos marquitas así. Como tiene la misma cantidad de marquitas, quiere decir que tiene la misma medida cada parte. De U a M es igual a M a T. ¿Ok? Si U a M tiene una distancia de 5, M a T también tiene una distancia de 5. ¿Ok? En otras palabras, para que entiendan bien esta definición, es muy, muy importante. La vamos a estar usando para el día de hoy, la definición del punto medio. Okay, so I am going to do my last definition, segment bisector. For this segment bisector, it's a line that makes a midpoint. So it's creating this midpoint. So you're going to see a line that goes through the middle of this other line. And hence, because of this intersection, it creates a midpoint. Okay? So let's look at a symbol here that I can have. What another color? Let's do blue. So it's going to be from here. Let's start again. From here to here, we're going to have a point right there. Okay, so I'm going to call this point R. And this other point is going to be S. So with a segment bisector, you're going to have a line that's going to go through the middle of this segment that I have already. So it's going to go from up to down, going straight through. Because it's a segment bisector, it's a line. It's going to have those arrows, okay? And because it's going straight through the middle, what's created here between these two lines that are hitting each other is your midpoint. And I'm going to call it M for midpoint. So this line right here that I'm going to highlight in blue, this line right here, this one is my segment bisector. Okay, and so we created two equal parts from R to M and M to S. Okay, so I'm going to make my little markings here. So one here, which tells me that from R to M, it's congruent to M to S. Okay, make sure you're writing everything down. The visuals are very important. Ok, so tengo una última definición. Va un poco al lado del punto medio también. So, ¿qué quiere decir segment bisector? Es un segmento bisectriz o un segmento que está cortando otro segmento a la mitad. y va a crear este punto medio. Eso es lo que es un segmento bisectriz. So, yo aquí en mi visual hice un segmento de R a S y mi bisectriz está cortando directamente a la mitad este segmento. So, mi bisectriz es esa línea con las flechitas, ¿ok? So, como está yendo directamente en medio, esta intersección entre estas dos líneas del segmento y la línea, so esta intersección que se creó, creó un punto medio que se llama M. ¿Ok? So este punto medio M, como está partiendo ese segmento a la mitad, yo sé que de R a M es una parte que es igual a M a S. ¿Ok? So es muy similar a lo que vimos acá para punto medio, pero la diferencia es que este bisectriz cortó a la mitad de este segmento, creando ese punto medio. ¿Ok? We have some examples here that we're going to do. Let's start with example 1. It says use the diagram below in a ruler. We're not going to use a ruler. What I am going to tell you is that from D to E, it's going to be a length of 8. Okay? And from E to F, my length will be 12. All right. So if from D to E, so from D, so let me see. Let me get a highlighter. So from D to E, it's 8. I'm going to label that 8. And it says from E to F. So from E, let me get a highlighter. From E to F, here in blue, it's going to be 12. My question is, what is DF? So from D all the way to F. I want to know that whole distance. How am I going to get that whole distance? Well, I'm going to have to add part plus part. So I'm going to do 8 plus 12, and it's going to give me my answer. If you put it in your calculator, it should be 20. Okay, so D to F, my length is 20. Okay, so something that I wanted you to notice is that I'm doing part plus part equals the whole. Okay, so en ejemplo 1, yo quería que agarraran una regla y midieran, pero voy a darles las medidas, no tienen que agarrar la regla y medirlo, como no estoy ahí. Entonces, lo que yo les voy a dar de información es que D a E es 8 y de E a F es 12, ¿ok? Centímetros. Mi pregunta es, ¿cuál es la medida de D a F? Esa era mi pregunta. Yo lo que hice es poner mis medidas aquí en mi visual. So, de D a E en rojito es 8. De E a F es 12. Mi pregunta era, de D hasta F, ¿cuál es toda esa distancia en total? Pues tuve que agregar cada parte. So, 8 más 12 me dio una respuesta de 20 centímetros. Que es parte más parte es igual a toda la parte. So, toda este segmento. The whole. La totalidad. Let's do example 2. It says B is between A and C is between B and D. AB is 24, BC is 11, and DC is 15. Find D to B. Okay, so I need to draw a picture. Okay, so let's start with what they told me at the beginning. It says B is between A and C. So let's draw a picture from A to C first. Oops, I want it to be a little bit more straight. There we go. So from A to C, and it says B is between, okay? So B is between, it doesn't say in the middle, so I'm just going to put it somewhere in between A and C. It also says that C is between B and D. So from B, I'm going to have to extend it all the way to D, because C should be in the middle of B and D. Okay, so I know that A to B is 24, so I'm going to label that. From A to B is 24. From B to C, it's 11. And that C from D, it's 15. My question is, what is DB? That is the question. What is that measurement? Okay, so let's find D to B. Let's use our highlighter here. So from D to B, so this is what I'm asking for in red. Okay, so what I'm going to do to find D to B is add each part. I'm going to add 11 and 15 together. So I'm going to do 11 plus 15. And if I do my math correctly, it should be 26. So DB equals 26. Ok, ejemplo 2, yo tuve que hacer mi visual. Yo empecé con la primera oración. ¿Qué dice? Dice, B está entre A y C. So yo empecé a dibujar mi segmento A hasta C y en medio, entre, puse B. Ok, entre A y C. No directamente en medio, pero entre. Puede ser donde sea que yo lo quiera poner B. No especificaron dónde está exactamente. También dijeron que C está entre B y D. So yo extendí mi línea hasta D para tener C entre B y D. Empecé a poner mis números donde va. A a B es 24, B a C es 11, C a D es 15. La pregunta es, ¿cuál es la distancia entre D hacia B? DB. ¿Cuál es la distancia de DB? Dice find DB. Entonces yo busqué D y B y estoy buscando todo lo que está entre esos dos puntos, esa distancia. So, tuve que agregar 11 más 15 para agarrar la totalidad, que es 26. All right, let's go to the next page. So, sorry. Oops. And let's look at this. We have 3 problems that we're going to be doing. What's going to happen is now, instead of giving us numbers like we had been working with, they're gonna give us expressions, okay? So it's going to be numbers with letters together. And we're going to have to solve for what they're asking for. So let's read the scenario. Let's look example 3. M is between N and O. Find NO. Okay, so first things first, I noticed that M is there, but I don't see a little point. So I'm going to just add it there. Right there. Just a point there for M. Okay, so from N to M, it's 17. From M to O, that part is 2x. Okay, so again, now it's not just numbers, it's numbers and letters together, because we're going to have to solve for x in just a bit. They also told us from N to O, so the whole part is 5x minus 4. So I'm going to say that 17 is one of my parts of my segment. MO is another part of my segment. And that 5x minus 4 is my whole part. I want to find NO, right? The whole thing. That is the question, right? NO, I want to figure out what that number is, all right? But in order to do that, we need to solve for x, okay? So we're gonna have to solve for x first. We're gonna have to create an equation. So how are we gonna do that? Well, because it says between, a lot of the times, it's gonna be a part plus part equals a whole problem. So I know that 17 plus 2x is going to give me the whole thing, which is 5x minus 4. Parte más parte es igual a toda la parte. Ok, so aquí tengo mi visual. Yo lo que voy a hacer es hacer parte más parte es igual a toda la parte. Ok, cuando vean esa palabra between, entre, muchas de las veces están haciendo esta ecuación de parte más parte es igual a toda la parte. En este caso, 17 es una de nuestras partes, 2x es otra parte y la totalidad es 5x menos 4. So, yo estoy creando mi ecuación para resolver por X para tener una respuesta de distancia de N a O. So, vamos a resolver por X. So, let's start solving for X here. I'm going to move some things around, okay? So remember, the goal is still to have X by itself. What I'm gonna do is grab the smallest amount of X's and move it to the other side. My smallest amount of X's is 2X. Okay, so between 2X and 5X, the smallest X's are 2X. So I'm gonna move this to the right side. So I'm gonna grab another color. So I'm going to do the opposite. I see a positive, I'll subtract 2X. So it can go away. Subtract 2X over here as well. I'm gonna just bring down what I have in use, which is 17, equals 5 minus 2 is 3, but it's a 3X. Don't forget your X. I'm going to bring down that negative 4. Okay. Now, I know I have that negative 4 that shouldn't be there right next to 3X. So I'm going to move it to the other side. I'm going to add 4. 17 plus 4, if you use your calculator, should be 21. I'm going to bring down 3X. All right, we're almost done. I care about X, not 3X. So I know that 3 and X are multiplying. So the opposite is division. So I'm going to divide by 3. A lot of the times, you'll be dividing. Dividing is your last step, okay? So X equals, well, if I go to my calculator and I put 21 divided by 3, I should get 7. So X is 7. So X es 4. So hice mi proceso, resolví por X. Yo empecé por moviendo el X más pequeño al otro lado de la ecuación. Los X más pequeños era 2X. So entre 2X y 5X, el más pequeño es 2X. Yo moví esa parte primero, a la derecha. So yo lo moví, pero tuve que restar. Resté 2X en los dos lados. Bajé todo lo que pude. Después tuve que agregar 4 en los dos lados para deshacerme de ese negativo 4. Bajé todo lo que pude y mi último paso era dividir. ¿Ok? So ese fue mi proceso para resolver por X. Mi última parte no es respondido la pregunta todavía. I haven't finished, okay? I haven't answered the question yet. It says, what is the distance from N to O? Now that I know what X is, I can figure this out. So NO is 5X minus 4, right? From N to O, it's this whole distance. So this whole thing, 5X minus 4. Now, if I'm interested in NO, all I'm going to do is replace X with 4. So wherever I see X, I'll take it out and I'll put 4. So that's what I'm doing. Ok, so para resolver por 5X menos 4, saber qué es eso en un número de verdad. Yo, como ya sé que X es 4, lo que voy a hacer es reemplazar X por 4 y resolver. Eso fue lo que hice aquí. So, hay que resolver. Podemos usar nuestra calculadora. Let's use our calculator. 5 times 4. Okay, you put it in there. It should give you 20. And then you still have to subtract 4. So it should give you 16. Okay, but if you put the whole thing together, it'll give you that answer. Let's look at it. So if I do 5 times 4, and then I subtract 4, it gives you 16 right there, okay? All right. So nuestra respuesta es 16. Let's do example 4. Line G is a segment bisector and it intersects EF at D. So first thing I'm going to add is my point D right there, since I don't see it. So G is a segment bisector and it intersects EF at D. So I'm going to add my segment bisector. It's going through D so that D can be a midpoint, okay? It says if ED equals 4x plus 4, so from E to D, it's 4x plus 6. Sorry, not 4, plus 6. Then from D to F, it's going to be 7x minus 9. So from D to E is D to F, let's find it. It should be 7x minus 9. Something that's very important that I haven't put in the symbols is for my tick marks here, which means that they're equal parts. So remember, E to D is equal to D to F. Okay, because it's a segment bisector, there's a midpoint. This segment bisector tells me midpoint, okay? All right, my question is to find x and EF. So I need to fill out what is x, what is the distance from E to F? That is the other question. Now, because I have a segment bisector and I see that I have two equal parts, and for each part they gave me an expression, I'm going to put them equal to each other. Okay, so a lot of the times if you have a midpoint problem, it's not always the case, but a lot of the times if you have a midpoint problem or a segment bisector problem, it means that you're going to put the equal parts equal to each other for your equation. Okay, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I know that E to D is congruent because it's a midpoint, right? They're equal to each other to D to F. So E to D is 4x plus 6, and I'm going to put it equal to 7x minus 9. They're equal to each other, so I put them equal in my equation. Now I'm going to just solve for x. Now, I'm going to start by moving the smallest amount of x's. The smallest amount of x's is 4x. Okay, so between 4x and 7x, the smallest amount of x's is 4x. So I'm going to take it to the right. So I see a positive 4, I'll subtract 4x. And do the same on the other side. I'm going to bring down what I haven't used, which is 6. 6 equals, well, 7 minus 4 should be 3. Should be a 3x. I'm going to bring down that negative 9. Again, my goal is to solve for x, so that negative 9 shouldn't be there. I'm going to try to move it to the other side. So I'm going to do the opposite of what I see. I'll add 9, and I'll do it on the other side as well. 9 plus 6, use your calculator, it should be 15. And I'm going to bring down my 3x. I'm almost done. I see a multiplication from 3 and x. They're right next to each other, so I know that means multiplication. So I'm going to do the opposite, which is divide. And I'll divide by 3 both of the sides. Now I'm running out of space, but over here I'll write x equals 15 divided by 3. Use decimals, but it should be 5. So I know what x is. It's 5. My goal is to find E to F. So I don't have a whole part for E to F as an expression, but I do know each little part that are equal to each other. So what I'm going to do is replace my x with my 5 for one of the parts. So let's do 4x plus 6, okay? So I'm going to do 4 multiplied by 5, and I'm going to add 6. So from E to D, it's a distance of 26. So from D to F, since they're equal parts, it's also 26. I could replace it if I wanted to. It should still give me 26, but they're equal parts. Okay, so 26 is here. That means the other one is 26. I cared about the whole part from here to here. So I'm going to do 26 plus 26. And when I use my calculator, I should get 52. So E to F is 52. These are my answers. Ok, so yo tengo ejemplo 4, que es un problema de punto medio o del bisectriz. Muchas de las veces cuando es un problema del bisectriz y del punto medio, van a poner la ecuación para resolver igual. Se van a poner cada parte igual y van a resolver, ¿ok? Para crear esta ecuación. No siempre se hace eso, pero muchas de las veces sí. Si ven la palabra bisectriz o ven que es un problema de punto medio, que hay dos partes iguales, lo que van a hacer para resolver por X es poner cada parte igual, como lo hice yo aquí, solo que estoy aquí circulando. Cuando creé mi ecuación, puse 4x más 6 igual a 7x menos 9. Okay, diferente de lo que hice arriba. Si pueden ver aquí, se parte más parte es igual a toda la parte. Pero era un problema de between, entre, diferente. Ese es un problema de bisectriz. Entonces yo puse mis dos partes que me dieron con expresiones igual a y resolví. Mis pasos fueron para resolver por x. Moví ese 4x al otro lado primero. Tuve que restar 4. Bajé todo lo que pude. Moví ese negativo 9 al otro lado. Agregué 9 a los dos lados para moverlo. Y mi último paso fue dividir por 3. El 15 dividido entre 3 me da ese 5. X es 5. Yo sé que X es 5, pero eso no era lo que buscaba en sí. También tengo que buscar qué es la distancia entre E a F. ¿Ok? Entonces, como ya sé que X es 5 y yo sé que cada partecita tiene expresiones en mi segmento, yo reemplacé una de esas expresiones con su valor de X. Yo escogí 4X más 6, hice mi reemplazo. Donde yo vi X, metí un 5. Es 4 por 5 más 6. La matemática que se está haciendo. Y en mi Desmos me debe de dar 26 o en mi calculadora me da 26 como mi respuesta. De E a D esa distancia es 26. Acuérdense que tenemos un problema de punto medio. Entonces, D a F, la otra parte que tenemos aquí, esa otra parte es una parte igual. Es congruente con esta otra parte. Si son dos partes iguales, si este es 26, entonces por eso yo deduje que esta otra parte es 26. Yo también pude haber reemplazado X por 5. Pude haber sido, o pude haber hecho 7 por 5 menos 9. Y de todos modos me da ese 26. ¿Ok? 26 y 26. Cada parte aquí, y son dos partes iguales, son 26. Mi pregunta es, ¿cuál es la distancia entre E hasta F? Toda esa distancia. Yo lo que tuve que hacer es agregar 26 más 26 y agarré 52. Okay, let's do our last question here. Another question here with a midpoint. It says M is the midpoint of RT. So we have our visual down here. If RM is 3x minus 2 and R to T is 7x minus 12, find the distance from M to T. And I'm also solving for x. Okay, so let's start with R and M and let's label it. So from R to M, it's 3x minus 2. So just to make it a little clearer, from R to M, so this part in red is 3x minus 2. They didn't give me M to T. It says I'm looking for that distance. But they did give me R to T. So R to T, it says 7x minus 12. So they actually gave me the whole part here. So it says it's 7x minus 12. I want you to notice that this is a midpoint problem. So something that I haven't drawn in is my little tick mark here. That means that RM and MT are equal. It is a midpoint problem, but they didn't give me that expression that goes for MT. So I can't put them equal to each other, okay? I can't do that because they didn't give me an expression for M to T. I'm missing that part. But they did give me the whole, 7x minus 12, okay? Because they gave me the whole, this means what they want us to do to solve for x is do part plus part equals a whole. You just have to be very careful and look at what information they gave you in your example. Okay, because they didn't give me M to T, they didn't give me an expression for that is different than RM. I can't do much. I can't put them equally to each other. So I did see they gave me the whole. So that's why I'm going to do part plus part equals the whole. The only problem is that I don't have an expression for m to t for that other part. So I do have this part. I need to figure out what am I going to write for this other part. And I know I have my whole, which is 7x minus 12. Now, I do know this is a midpoint problem, right? Where I have two equal parts. R to m is equal to m to t. So, because they're equal, I'm going to put 3x minus 2 here as well. So 3x minus 2, I'm labeling it for m to t. Even though it didn't give it to me in the problem, in the example, I know and I can deduce that if Rm is 3x minus 2, then m to t is also 3x minus 2. I can use that so I can do my expressions here for my equation. So I'm going to do, 3x minus 2 plus 3x minus 2 equals my whole part, 7x minus 12. And I'm going to try to solve for x. Before I start moving things around and move my x's over and blah, 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 I am going to make sure that I combine like terms. I'm going to combine 3x and 3x together, and I'm going to combine my numbers together, my negative numbers here. Okay, so 3 and 3, if you add 3 plus 3, you get 6x. If you do negative 2 minus 2, you'll get negative 4. And I'm going to bring down everything else. All right, so instead of having this whole left side with multiple x's, I combine like terms on the left side. I didn't have to do that for the right side because I had something that I could work with already. But the left side looked a little weird, had a lot of x's and a lot of numbers in there. I combined as much as I could. So I got 6x minus 4. Now I can solve for x. I'll move the smallest amount of x's to the right side. So I'll subtract 6x first. I'll bring down that negative 4. 7 minus 6 is 1. It's 1x or just x. I'll bring down that negative 12. All right, I want x by itself. It's almost to a point to where I'm almost done, but not yet. I need to add that 12 so it can go away on the right side. And if I go to decimals and put negative 4 plus 12, so if I go to decimals and I put negative 4 plus 12, I get positive 8. Okay, so this is positive 8. So I don't have a lot of space in the bottom, so I'm just going to put, x equals 8. This is my answer. Que no tengo mucho espacio, pero cuando hice todo mi problema aquí, resolví por x es 8, ¿ok? Algo que voy a mencionar aquí, me aclara un poquito más ahorita que ya terminé resolviendo por x, es que ese es un problema de punto medio, ¿ok? Eso lo tengo claro. Pero la información que me dieron es un poquito diferente. So, RAM era 3x menos 2. No me dieron la distancia de M a T, eso es lo que estoy buscando, pero sí me dieron que R a T, que es toda la parte, todo el segmento, es 7x menos 2. So, pues, por eso se ve un poco diferente como puse mis expresiones. Yo, porque no me dieron una expresión para M a T, esta otra parte igual, por eso no hice algo como lo de arriba, ponerlos igual, ¿ok? Tuve que hacer parte más parte es igual a toda la parte porque, otra vez, no me dieron M a T, no me dieron una expresión específica para eso, ¿ok? Para hacer parte más parte es igual a toda la parte, para la parte que no tenía M a T, no tenía expresión, yo deduje que como es un problema de punto medio, R a M es igual a M a T, so R a M representa 3x menos 2, entonces M a T yo dije que también es 3x menos 2. Son dos partes iguales. So, puedo hacer esa conexión. Usé eso para poder hacer mi ecuación. So, yo puse 3x menos 2 más 3x menos 2 es igual a 7x menos 12 y resolví por x. Lo primero que tuve que hacer antes de empezar a mover cosas de izquierda a derecha para poder resolver por x fue combinar todo lo que pude de partes iguales en el lado izquierda de la ecuación. So, en esta parte. So, yo combiné todos mis x juntos y combiné los números que pude juntos. So, 3 más 3 es donde saco ese 6. El negativo 2 más del negativo 2 te va a dar ese negativo 4. ¿Ok? Y ya resolví normal. Me dio que x es 8. Ok, pues vamos a seguir ya la última parte. Yo quiero MAT. Ok, es lo que me falta. Let's do our last part. MT is what I'm looking for. Okay, I do know that MT represents 3x minus 2. Okay, we made that, we deduced that based on the information that was given to us. So I know MT is equal to 3x minus 2. So I'm going to replace x with 8. So MT equals 3 times 8 minus 2. Wherever I see an x, I'm going to replace it with 8. All right, I go to Desmos. I put this exactly how I see it in Desmos. So it's 3 times 8. And let me see if I can move this. Minus 2. And I get 22. So this is 22. Ok, so para sacar mi respuesta, ¿qué es la distancia entre M a T? Esa es esta última parte que hice. Yo sé que M a T, en otras palabras, representa 3x menos 2 como lo vemos en el visual. ¿Ok? Entonces, si yo sé que MT representa 3x menos 2, lo único que tengo que hacer es cambiar mi x por 8, hacer ese reemplazo para poder resolver por mi expresión. So, 3 por 8 menos 2 fue 22. MAT tiene una distancia de 22. So, yo aquí en mi visual voy a poner, bueno, sé que este es 22. Y entonces no necesito esta otra información, no me preguntaron nada de esto. Pero entonces si MAT es 22, RAM también es 22. Y toda la parte aquí, 7x menos 12, también podría yo reemplazar x por 8 si quiero para toda la parte. Pero también lo que puedo hacer es agregar cada partecita. 22 más 22 me va a dar 44. All right, so all I'm doing here for this last part, I'm just, even though they didn't ask me to do it, I just kind of want to show you a little bit more. From M to T, I know it's 22. And so because M and T and RM are congruent, they're equal, I know that RM is 22 as well. If I want to get the whole part, I just did 22 plus 22 and I got 44. Even though they didn't ask me for it, I just kind of showed you a little bit more, just in case you were wondering. All right. So those are the examples for 1.3. You do have homework. This is what the homework looks like. This is in your packet. Okay.